Alwyn, Matt,
Yousef.
we go way back, don't we?
Absolutely, and it's a joy to be here, man. It's
and
really
there
joy.
we meet again. You've been living all the way in Australia. I'm here in Kuwait, between Europe and Kuwait and Canada.
Yes.
And now we meet again.
And it's more special seeing you this time after COVID and the whole craziness and the whole world shutting down. So it's a joy to even be on an airplane.
It has been one weird 3 years, hasn't it? For
Absolutely.
businesses, organizations, individuals, on personal levels.
Yeah.
It's just been things been going crazy around the world.
So I'm just happy that life is resuming to a certain level. So
certain routines. So that's where we function as humans, actually. You know, just with a routine, with a certain routine, productive routine, of course. That has all been shaken up for a lot of people.
Routine.
So it's good to be back.
Routine's a good word.
Yeah.
One of the routines that I have is reading books. You know, they say that every leader is a reader.
Yeah.
I know you love books. You're always sending across and talking about this book, that book. We're always exchanging ideas on that.
Yeah. Even though our lines of books are kind of different, though. But
yes.
But I think everything goes under self-development. And
Totally.
And people development. In general.
What are some of the books you're reading?
Well, the first one that's on my center of my attention now is The Celestine Prophecy.
Okay.
But I'm also reading Beyond Good and Evil by Friedrich Nietzsche.
Wow.
Which I know you have very strong views,
colorful ideas about.
Careful ideas about. Darwin's Dangerous Idea it's a very old book, actually. It's in the 70s, I think, by Daniel Dennett.
Okay.
It's a very thick book, very nice book about just Darwin's idea and methodologies. And I want to start Talking to Strangers by Malcolm Gladwell, one of his most recent.
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, and then he launched the Mafia Bomber. That was the name of his latest book as well. Yes. That he just finished. This one I didn't get into.
I love all things Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah, man. We started with Malcolm Gladwell like way back in college, man. We started with Outliers, and from there,
That's right.
got into the idea. Yeah. As well, it has helped us so much in business. You know, all his books. But Talking to Strangers is I think, as we were having some talks in the last few days, it's very into the whole communication sector. Networking, like it's, you know, because it's about how when you meet a stranger.
Yes.
I haven't read it yet, but I've read some reviews of people who've read it and planning to get into it. And it's all the importance of networking and how you would assume things of people. And it might
Such
be
an
totally
important.
It's a Malcolm Gladwell style as well. You know, he has his way.
His own studies, his case studies, research.
Exactly.
I love that about him. He's you know, he talks about like 21st century, what happened yesterday, and then he link it with something from the 1850s.
Exactly.
And it's like, at the end of the day, Yousef, what I find is, yes, there's technology, yes, there's this, but humans are humans, right? At the end of the day, there's a line that connects us across different eras, across different centuries and things like that.
Yeah.
You spoke about networking, and I know we talk a lot about this, you know, on the phone, on WhatsApp. We're always talking about who you've met, who I've met, what's happened out of this. A lot of people don't understand running an organization, running a business. Networking is a big part of it. And sometimes people can be so focused on, I'm just working on my business, I'm just working on my thing, not understanding the significance of networking, hey?
Yeah.
I mean, have you found that with people?
Yeah, well, that's true. Like, see, like when you're starting a business, let's say, which has been a very upcoming trend in the past few years, when COVID hit, people started thinking, you know what? Nothing is secure, even my daily job is not secure. So starting businesses and taking the first step has become way more common in the past few years. So one of the two main things that people should focus on actually at that stage is focusing on your resources, which we will talk about more in depth later on, and the network. And the net of who they are, everybody that, I mean, if you take any random someone's phone and you'll find thousands of contacts.
There you go. So we all have networks already.
Exactly.
People say, I don't have a network. You already have a network.
Paying attention to it makes the difference there. You know?
I've told people a lot of times that a lot of my life, Yousef, has been, it's not, sometimes people say, I wish I could meet this person. But what you got to understand is the person that you know, that they know, that they know, that they know, knows that person. And it's about really growing that circle. I've heard one business leader say this, and I love it. Your network in many ways is your net worth.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Yeah,
you know, so many times we're like, "What's my net worth? We're following the dollars, we're following the dinars," but but not understanding really your network is your net worth.
Yeah.
You know, in that
there's
in that
so
phone
much
book.
wealth in there. There's so much value in it. There's so much you can come out of it. I mean, you can't succeed in life, as cliche as that sound, but you can't get from point A to point B without having the right people with you, either the network within your organization or
Outside,
the clients, which
yes.
represent all stakeholders within the company. Paying close attention to that is, I believe, a lot of people fail to acknowledge, recognize, because people start thinking inward rather than outward. You know, then self-ego comes in there, and narcissism, and especially things related to our culture. You know, the whole being self-centered is a very common thing in the Kuwaiti culture. That's from what I see from being Kuwaiti, actually, and being from the people.
Okay.
And knowing that about, so this always stays in the way between someone and going to the next step.
Yep.
To take that first step, start their business. You know, not speaking of the culture effect or people like that, like the exact people in your life and what their role is, or certain problems or certain limitations someone have. But the start is really your resources and your network. I don't think there's any other way or path to entrepreneurship rather than starting from there.
Authentic entrepreneurship.
Authentic entrepreneurship, exactly. Not just a word being thrown out by some like cupcake businesses now. Everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody's starting entrepreneur.
Wow.
It's very weird because when we studied in college by Philip Kotler Marketing, one of the essentials, very old books of marketing, it says that 80% of business closed down within the first 5 years.
Yes.
So if you go beyond the first 5 years, there's almost 100% you're a successful business to go forward. And in one of Kuwaiti newspapers a few years back, they were saying that 90% of the businesses who started during the past like 3 years or something actually closed down. So it's even worse than the international standard.
Yes.
As Kuwait has been known to be the worst in a lot of international standards when it's on the negative thing.
Yep.
But and it's just crazy how things connect to each other.
Well, that's difficult. I mean, it's tough when you think about that. I mean, I feel for every. I'm a real encourager, and I feel for every person that fails in that sense. Why do you think that's the case, Yousef? I mean, it is true. Wherever, I mean, I've done things all around the world, and it's always a 50-50. I mean, it's always an 80-20.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's a 90-10, what's really caused that? Why do you think that's the case? That in this context, in this culture, you live here in Kuwait. What do you think are probably the reasons for that?
Well, reasons of failure in general in any endeavor you'll do in your life has a lot of contributors to it, a lot of factors that would affect it, of course. But you know, if we zoom into our culture and see what it is, well, the entrepreneurship, the authentic, real entrepreneurship level of Kuwait is very low. What I mean, like the creative ideas, the creative concept that we see, and the cultural obligations that people have to really obey as a male or as a female from our culture. As a male, you are expected to finish college as soon as possible, get a good degree, get a good job, you know, so that your family looks good when they go and propose and find you a wife. Okay. That's what our culture was on.
Yes.
I know it's changing in the past few years with minorities and slowly becoming more and more open to the world, but that's the culture that brought us in. And for the females, same kind of expectations, but inward. So you have to take care of yourself as a female until a certain age, to get married, to find a good husband. And all these kind of obligations or enforcing from family on us as individuals. As Robert Greene said, 90% of our personalities is taken from our families and schools.
Totally.
And you as a father of three, I still don't have any kids, so you'll know how much effect that the family has on their kids and the formation of the kid mentality. Culture as well, which is how family acts. The majority, let's say, is based on how their culture is. So these kind of things will limit people from taking the first step on a personal level. We've all had that as Kuwaitis. When are you going to get married? When are you going to finish college? Get a job?
External expectations.
Exactly. Why are you starting your own business? Don't get a job, get experience. I've heard this from everybody in Kuwait, and I'm sure entrepreneurs out there who've made it, and there is the 1% that I've seen from Kuwaitis who've made business happen. It's not everyone. I know it's a small percentage compared to, let's say, international average, but there is a minority. There is a group of people who really made great things happen within this culture, but they had to sacrifice a lot. most importantly, I believe that when they had sacrifices, even relationships with their families had to be put in jeopardy at some point.
Wow.
Based on how far you want to go, because you can't just jump in out of your eggshell.
Yes, one day.
Expect it to be
it's a process.
Expect it to go a totally different direction.
Okay.
So the reason of failures would be summed up to not getting enough support from the people around you. That's for sure a big factor.
Yes.
A big factor that leads to it.
Wow.
And how being privileged as Kuwaitis.
Yes.
I know it's a sensitive subject for some.
Yes.
You're Kuwaiti, you're privileged.
Yes.
You've had, the red carpet for you no matter what you start. That's for sure, it's a privilege. Everybody's oppressed and an oppressor in some context anyways, if you take it from different areas around the world.
Sure.
So that's that. But, to take that first step, to really jump in and not worry, you have to sacrifice a lot of things. And sometimes even close people to you, close friends, close family members, you have to learn how to isolate.
Okay.
And be in that creator's mindset.
Okay. That's big. Two words that I talk about because I do a lot of personal development, finding your inner voice, emotional intelligence, all that sort of stuff. But key, just before I go there, two key words is nurture and nature. And nurture is how you've been raised up, which is sort of what you were indicating to. And nature is who you are, right?
Yeah.
You can't change the nurturing because you don't choose which family you're born
into.
So, right?
Or the culture or the country.
You can't choose any of that, right? You can't choose nurture. But awareness of the nurturing is important. So many times in our master classes, that is the biggest thing, Yousef, we work with. People come to us for, help me do this, help me do that, help me do this. But we found that if we can help people identify their nurturing and the gaps in their nurturing, no judgments, but to be aware of that is such a key thing. And I think that's been the crossover point for you over the years, as you've appreciated your home, you appreciated your background. All of us, we all have different nurturing, positives, negatives, all that sort of stuff, right? But it's important to identify it, and then based on you identifying and defining your nurturing, now you got to determine how you're going to develop your nature.
Exactly.
So many times people will look at, okay, my nurturing was this or my nurturing was that, but then don't look in now, okay, this is my nature. Okay, how am I going to develop that nature? How am I going to overcome fear? How am I going to develop courage? How am I going to step out in faith? Those things are key in developing your business. And I think that's been the crossover point for you. I know many times you've had moments where it's been like, how do I overcome that? I remember even years back when you were starting out, and we were sort of starting out at the same time. I was in Australia, you were here in Kuwait. But you was just breaking into the market with Forward and all that. And there were already others that had sort of, had the monopoly in the market here. And then over a 3-year period, you just began to they were like, who is this? What's happening here? Would you share just how were some of the things, what were some of the things that happened in you overcoming the competition that was very, very well pertinent in this area?
So you're talking precisely about Forward Sports.
Yes.
Which is one of the companies that I've created. The first one actually. Which that stemmed out to a lot of different. Forward Sport did not have a competition at some point.
Okay.
I did not see it as a competition out there in the world, because we were functioning at a different level of thinking, at a different level of production, different level of corporate culture, business culture. At that point, of course, there's competition overall. Everybody who could take a client away from you is a direct competition, direct or indirect, but it's a competition to you. And that's normal in the face of business. But for me, getting into sports, in a country where it does not believe in sports at that time, when we first started in 2009, we ranked the highest in obesity rate by the WHO. We are the second in males or females, something like that, and the fifth in females. So we're among the top 5 of most obese countries in the world, and diabetes and stuff. And it's just crazy, starting with programs to get people to go outdoor. That was a huge challenge. It was a crazy business idea. It wasn't even a promising business idea. To start doing events at the northern side of Kuwait, which we were the first to ever tap on that area of Kuwait, proudly. And then now hundreds of events have happened since then.
That's amazing.
That was one of our major successes and our major steps. Getting people out there, making more run clubs and outdoor program, which there was no proof of concept to get sponsored for. going from that to getting the Nike from the official Nike, like to run the Nike Run Club here in Kuwait for 2 years, and then also to develop a lot of programs that engages people, community-based programs, and touching databases of, or databases more than 60,000 people up to this point of people who've joined sport events here in Kuwait. So I've never seen the competition relative per se.
Wow.
Especially that over a period of 7 years, right till COVID hit, over a period of 7 years, there were 3 years where we actually beat our competition down to the ground, man. We've smashed it down. And the craziest thing about it is that we were 3 people against a company of 70 people. That's what differentiated what entrepreneurship for me really is, you know? It's like the meaning of the word, there's no limitation.
Wow.
You know, it's one thing to say it, another thing to really apply it and do it. And our rule was no wastas.
Wow.
Which is something our competition depended on.
Yes.
Big time. Like we were refused by some clients, of course. Well, we took clients from our competition way more than some of our clients left to others, generally speaking.
Sure, sure.
But to come out from that, I mean, to actually win in a boxing match sense, because at the end of the day, it's business at the end of the day. You know, no matter where you go and try to be friends and it's business at the end. Who puts the other one on the ground and who can take it, who can take more, let's say. So 3 out of 8 years, 7, 8 years that we're actually had the most number of participants. We were the first in a lot of the things that we do. We use the highest tech and technologies in our business, which is, in business terms, it's our USPs, our unique selling propositions. We made sure those things we have against our competition that we are better at that area. And going back to nurture and who we are, I've made sure that the only way to beat an organization, I'll say 10 times much bigger than a single entrepreneur like me, being head to head with a big company with a lot of wastas and a lot of
connections,
bullshit happening behind or whatever, that the only way to really beat that is to put all the energy and word and really become unstoppable mentally.
So it's a mental game, Yousef. It's an absolute, and that's the thing, right? Well, people, every person we consult with, I mean, we consult with so many different people, you know, from lawyers to entrepreneurs to university students to whatever. At the end of the day, what I find is it's all about mental fortitude. It's all about, I call it the battlefield of the mind. You know, I do a whole session on the biggest battle you're going to face is not out there. People come to me, oh, this is happening. That's my father, my uncle. You know, the, you know, cat, the dog, the cow, whatever. It's like, okay, let's talk through it. All right, you process with me. But once we're done, really, it's the battlefield of the mind. In other words, most of our demons, if I could use that word, lie between our 2 ears. It's right here, right? So it's a battlefield of the mind. So really, it's about developing fortitude.
Thick skin. Commonly speaking, you know, thick skin. It is. I mean, because at the end of the day, it goes back to you. If you're not moving, if you're not the heart of your organization, and your organization can refer to a company of one person, or a company of 1,000, doesn't matter. Your passion, your why, your reason, let's say, your mission and vision of pursuing that entrepreneurial path, that endeavor, what moves that has to be solid. What moves that cannot be shakeable no matter what. So to have the confidence to really not take yourself for granted. To understand that you're fragile, and throughout the whole process of you, as you pursue that path and making sure that this stays on solid ground, I think
that's key.
Is key, and that's why investing in self-development is very, very important.
Yes.
Very important. It's what's going to make the whole difference. It's what makes the whole difference.
I noticed that about you, Yousef.
Are you just saying that because
I'm
your friend?
No.
Come on,
you were unapologetic about pursuing development. You would email people, contact people. Like, if you felt you were lacking in an area, you would go after it. And I love that about. In fact, in a sense, I picked that from you.
I remember college. In college, our doctor asked us to do a job application. I was 18 at that time, and you were 1 year ahead of me in college, or 1 semester. And I came to you. I was like, Alwyn, I know all the Kuwaitis at that time asked you, Alwyn, can you do this for us? You know, please, my friend. You know what I mean? But I came to you, and I was like, Alwyn, just show me how to do that. I don't want
Don't
to.
do that was a massive standout.
I remember
you
that
said,
you
"Don't
pointed
do
out.
it for me. Teach
Yeah.
me how to do it."
Just
and you
teach
know,
me
there's
how
a
to do it.
saying, catch a fish for somebody or teach them how to fish.
Exactly. I think it's an old Chinese proverb.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly, yeah, man. Some crazy stories in college we've had. Dealt with crazy people, didn't we? And like, honestly speaking, of course, without mentioning names, but from everybody we knew in college, man, 90% is not there anymore in terms of whatever they've achieved in their lives or whatever dreams they said that they would.
Yes.
Especially that we went to business school, so
Yeah.
everybody had an idea for business.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to jump from
Yes.
one point to another, especially if you're taking a dangerous step. Yeah,
It's true. It's true.
You
And
have to be willing to put things
push
at rest
through.
for things to grow.
Dig your heels in, go after
You
it.
have to, yeah,
And
yeah.
but what I appreciate about you is you have a heart to see others rise up. You have a heart to see help other entrepreneurs, especially the next generation, especially people in their 20s. You've been through it. You know how difficult it is. There were many times you wanted to quit, but I know that you have a heart to see them rise up, hey, because you know how difficult it is.
Well, it's not something that we get to choose to do.
Yes.
I guess there's a difference between Dion, an Indian friend of mine, who's 18 years younger than me or something. He said,
Wow.
Yeah. He told me this. He told me, Yousef, are you pulled by your why or are you pushed toward it? He told me once people know the difference, I think it can clarify a lot of the points for people. So for me, the hand to people or the gesture or to feel that you want to offer your excellence or you offer your expertise to people, guide them through the right path is more of something you're pulled by it,
yes.
by that power, or rather than just pushed toward doing
gotta
that
be a
daily
pull.
job or doing this. It's different for us.
Yeah.
Whatever we did in our lives with the organizations we have built, it never counted on us being pushed toward anything.
No way.
It was always a pull toward a higher purpose.
Yes. It's a drive. It's what gets you out of bed. It's what keeps you. It's what wakes you up in the morning out of bed. It's also what keeps you off the bed in terms of go to sleep late.
True, yeah.
And it's just I couldn't think of another life. You were talking before about resources, and just want to bring that up. Well, any thoughts there? Because I know you've had limited resources.
I've started on cash flow basis, if that makes any sense, from Facebook event.
Wow.
Like I know there's a lot of people from this region would start with daddy's money. My dad was a journalist, may he rest in peace. He was a writer journalist, so he supported me with everything he could in his life, of course, and I hope to see him one time soon.
I hope so too.
Yeah. I'm sure we will, and we share this belief in the afterlife. So we will see. We will see the ones we've lost. But my point is, when it comes to resources, I wanted to start from literally 0 dinars, 0 KD. I wanted to see if that's possible.
Wow.
Because I was always, let's say, fascinated by the idea of entrepreneurship or the idea of starting your own business. How Steve Jobs did it. Started reading Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell's. How people start and from nothing to everything. So I wanted to challenge myself. So the start was on that. So I just had a Facebook account. Opened an event, 50 people signed up.
Wow.
Made around $7,000 at that time. That was huge because my whole college allowance was around $300 at that time that I would use. I was 17, 18 years old during that time. And from that first big start from a Facebook event about health and fitness and losing weight, and that was the passion and the motive at that time. And from there, slowly taking an office and meeting as many people as I can. And then we jumped from there. And one funny story, I don't know if it's time to mention or not, but one of my first events actually ever done was my current forward sports competitor is actually one of the guest speakers in my first ever event.
Wow.
So that kind of played a big role, I think, the year's difference between my forward sports and the competition out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is brilliant, man. And I talk about, so many times people come and they complain about, I don't have this, I want to start a business, but I don't have this. And then they talk about the other person. We're living in a day and age, Yousef, you know this, it's the Instagram generation.
Yeah.
And, they went on a holiday and I'm on a holiday and I'm on Instagram, but their holiday looked better than mine. So now I'm not on holiday, or I don't like my holiday, right? Honestly, we live in this, and what the main thing we complain about, it's comparison, but it's also this awareness, this incredible awareness of limited resources, and people are always complaining. I had the same issue when we were starting. There was a moment where, as a speaker, I wasn't getting too much invitations and things like that, and because I was looking at the big platforms, I was looking at the big events, I'm looking at this and that, and I started saying yes to the small things. People, 10 people, 15 people, 20 people, and that became the seed. That became the breed. I had no idea that now I've got much greater influence than some of the speakers that I was looking at, and I want to be on all those platforms that I wanted, they're calling me to come and speak for them. But out of that, I've learned something, Yousef, that sometimes your greatest innovation comes out of your biggest limitation. So many times when you don't have, and the companies that made it through during this COVID time have been the companies that used the limitation. What were our limitations? Cannot meet, cannot come together, no physical contact. And the companies that went online, man, they've tripled, quadrupled their income. And the companies that complained, the people that complained, they've shriveled or they've shut shop. And so I want to just say that, so many times we forget that. I've now learned to embrace limitations. Before I'd be like that, but now it's my limitation that's caused me. Every time we've gone up as an organization, it's always been a lack that's caused us to go up a level. In fact, when we've had too much, it's a bit dangerous. Because you settle down, you relax, we can take a bit of a break, and it's dangerous. I always get nervous when there's too much.
And it's a very careful subject, because I personally don't believe everybody's meant for such a path. Not everybody who can be an entrepreneur. I'm sorry, but I'm Yousef, that color, some other person, a little whiter, a little darker. People come in different shapes different mentalities. So the brain is also the same thing. Entrepreneurship is not something that I believe is for everyone. I've been, in the beginning phases of my life, let's say.
You wanted everybody to be an entrepreneur.
Exactly, and I believe everybody could, actually. But as we grow up, the past 17 years being dense in the business and knowing what competition really is, and what struggle in business really is, and what investments really is, and what growth really means, it's not something I would recommend on everyone. I find it very, very weird how everywhere you look within the culture of Kuwait, there's always classes happening, like workshops, training, all kind of training happening everywhere in Kuwait nowadays. It's became a trend in the last 5 years in marketing and business development, management, social media, up to very good topics, down to also very silly topics like the art of etiquette, or what the heck is that? With all the workshops happening, with all different topics happening in Kuwait, and with different mentors, with different coaching happening, it's not something that's meant for everyone. We can say it's a sad truth. Let's say it's a sad truth, because you cannot tell people you are meant to work for a certain company. It's a controversial subject out there, but at the end of the day, everybody has got the choice to. So that's not something. So there's no limitation there. You have the choice to go ahead and try.
You can still make a difference. You can still be driven.
But as long as they're willing, whoever he or she is willing to sacrifice most of who they are and whatever they've gathered from their culture and parenting and everything, as long as they're willing to give up a lot of that, that's the only time anything new can actually happen. Any creative idea can flourish from that. Despite cultures, despite boundaries of countries or whatever it is. Just everywhere, for any new creative thing to take place and to flourish, to manifest itself. There has to be some sacrifice involved in it. And for some people, they're willing to sacrifice 1 hour a day. Some people will sacrifice
10 hours a day, 15, 16,
or 10 years of their life of non-stop work. Like the workaholics have been up. You've helped me so much in my workaholic times. I've been there for you, or tried to. Your workaholic times, always a struggle in between. But at the end of the day, it's being
the design,
driven.
it's the make of who we are, and it's something we have to manage.
And we find joy in that as well. So that's, let's say we try to increase the percentage of the possibility for people to become entrepreneurs. If it's a 1%, let's try to push it, make it a 5%.
Very true. True.
But to say that our message is for everyone, it's total bullshit. It's not for everyone.
Talking about of entrepreneurship, I want to quickly talk about leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership. We had a little bit of a chat. We've been chatting all day on leadership and all things leadership and how there are different kinds of leadership. Because I think Yousef, my subject really is people.
Yeah.
And I like to say this. We have biologists and botanists and archaeologists, and so each of them is study of this and study of that, and paleontologists, which is study of dinosaurs and all that sort of stuff. I'm a humanologist.
Yeah.
There's no word like that, but I'm a humanologist. I'm a study of people. People are my favorite topic.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in people, big encourager of people. And so that's my leadership style, but not all people have that kind of a leadership style.
Yeah.
And different eras require different kinds of leadership.
Yeah, and different organizations
require different kinds of leadership.
Different visions requires different kind of leaders.
Very true.
Like Steve Jobs, for example.
Yes.
I don't think he was a good leader.
Yeah, in the terms of the people person leader, but he was leader in terms of a pioneer, visionary, like light years ahead of his time.
Exactly.
And then another example I would share is Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister during the World War.
Yeah.
People look at him as there's hundreds of leadership books written about him. But what people don't know is he was actually a horrible prime minister.
Yeah.
But he became a great prime minister during the World War. So he was bad before and he was bad after. He was just great during, because he was a leader that could lead during crisis.
During that crisis,
but he was horrible when it's peace.
Yeah.
So different styles of leadership too.
Right. Yeah, the whole subject of leadership is very wide.
Yeah.
A lot of people spoke about it, written books about it. Somehow everything goes back to leadership and comes from leadership. In one way or another, you can find a link. I believe it's based on the most important form of it, or let's say that I've come to touch base with, is it's the moment that requires a leader to shine up. During that specific moment of time is where you need to make that specific decision. That's where you show your leadership skills. You might not be, it's not something like everybody's now calling themselves like in their CV, I'm a leader, good in managing a leading team. That's not something you write in a CV to begin with. That's not something you can tell people that you're a leader.
You can't quantify it, hey? Yeah.
You cannot do that. You cannot tell people I'm a leader, because that's not something you would say. Actually, the moment any human would say that they're a leader, that's the 100% proof that they're not. Right there on the spot, you know what I mean? Like right there, because it's not something to just talk about. You have to apply it, you have to live that thing, and you have to make the decision when the time comes.
Very true, very true.
And self-leadership though, that's
a different deal.
That's a totally different deal. That's what I totally agree with. At some point, I've come to realize, and how about leading ourselves? What's your take on the difference, let's say, between leadership as a generic term and self-leadership as a specific?
Totally.
term?
I mean, to be honest, leadership, as you said, is a big idea, right? Big concept, big many discussions, that million books written on it. But keeping that aside, self-leadership. If a person's not leading themselves, don't even think about leading anybody. And self-leadership is consistency. Self-leadership is commitment. Self-leadership is having basic commitments, priorities. This is what I. And I think if we can nurture that spirit in people to be self-leaders. I'm going to wake up at this time. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do 3 things today. Just begin there. So many times people want to do 15,000 things, and I think that's the big issue, right?
Oh, the focus problem.
Yeah. Just do 3 things. I want to wake up on time. I want to do university, or I want to do just little things, and you can do a biteable format of growing in leadership. Just smash out these.
Elaborate more on that.
I mean, just smash out. So many times I meet people all the time that are like, okay, what do you want to do? I want to own an airplane. All right, I want to own an airways. I want to start this. Okay, what have you done? I've quit school. Let's talk about that. Okay, just start with going to school. And even for someone to say that is a big idea. So then we got to break it down, saying, can you commit to going to school this term? Can you commit to going to school this month? Can you commit to waking up in the morning, putting on your uniform, and just going to school? So just people need a little bit of wins to develop that leader within.
Yeah.
And so leadership really begins with self-leadership, self-motivation, driven. You have to have a basic level of motivation before you can even put on the leadership muscle hat. And I think it's really, and I think as a human being, everybody needs that. You might be a strong personality, you might be a not so strong personality, you might be outspoken, you might be an introvert. Does not matter. We all need a level. We all need a level of leadership. As a human being, we need a level of self-leadership. And I think societies will become much more richer. When I use the word richer, people think money.
No.
I'm talking about a whole nother thing. Society can be a whole more richer and holistic when people actually start self-leading, self-regulating.
Exactly.
Self-regulating, and I think it changes the whole thing.
Yeah, actually, like going to, starting with your daily routines, the thing you have to do every day. You can start somewhere, There's always, collecting your resources and starting with networking, which is the two core elements, as we've mentioned. The mind operates in that way, actually. When things are in routine, you have a routine that you're following. Actually, you're more coherent with yourself. You're
organized.
Your hormones are more in balance.
Happy.
Feeling more in context with yourself. Feeling more, happy about yourself. I don't like to use the word happiness so much because I don't think that's something very touchable, let's say. But
it can be a dangerous word to use.
It can be a dangerous word to use, exactly. But feeling more in a line, more in element with what your pull and your calling is, your purpose is,
So good, man. Well, man, I love these conversations with you. It's always a joy.
They're never finished.
These conversations never stop. They never stop. They go all through the day, all through the night. And then when I'm back in Australia, it's happening on WhatsApp, it's happening on phone, it's happening all the time. So I just so enjoy chatting with you and really hoping that, our hearts, I think both of our hearts is to make a difference wherever we are. And I'm really hoping that this conversation's done that.
Hope so too. You have so much hope in humanity, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, I do a little bit.
I'm a big believer. I'm just I just don't know. I just am such a big believer in people. I want the best. My mission is to make everybody be their best version. That's my mission.
But don't get me wrong. I didn't mean that I don't care about people.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. I just believe there is a selection, a natural selection happening. Not to quote Darwin in it, but it's automatically happens. The 1% leads the 99%. Aiming for the 1% to become the 10%, leading the 90%, and then the 50%. And then we become a richer society, as you claim.
Richer society, And I agree with you, Yousef. I mean, it may sound a bit like there's a difference here, but I agree with you that not everybody, if you're all leaders, then who's following, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I still also believe that everybody has been given a realm of influence. Like in my own home, I've got a 7-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old. My 7-year-old's a leader. My 3-year-old's a leader. We tell them that already. My 3-year-old's a leader. So, but my 7-year-old is not leading my organization or whatever. Like she is leading in the realm of her influence. And right now her influence is a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Be good at that.
Exactly.
And before you know, you might have a bunch of people that you might lead, But so everyone has a little sphere of influence. And all I would say is keep growing in that, keep developing that, be faithful in that,
Because it's way more difficult as well to get that area of your life right than before somebody wants to develop organizations and stuff. But
absolutely.
Because it's true, actually, what you're saying is very true. The whole leadership, starts at home, of course. I mean, if you think about it, if all you do in your life, make sure you raise the best children possible. Hypothetically speaking, or whatever. Then that's a really tough job, a tough responsibility that most probably people will fail in. So that role by itself is a responsibility to begin with. And then to mingle that with starting your business or pursuing things, that's more difficult. There is no question that it's a very difficult thing to do, to succeed in life, and to succeed in raising your children or building your organization. It is difficult. That's why I believe there is a need for more proper, authentic entrepreneurship, proper, authentic mentorship. And that's what we are planning to offer through our platform.
And that's what we're doing this. I mean, you've got your organization, I've got my organization back in Australia, but the reason we do this, these master classes, is because it's this big, massive belief that people, if we can make a 1% difference.
Yeah.
I'd love more than that, but 1% difference on the scale, it brings a smile to my face, it brings joy to our hearts, and that we're making a bigger difference. Because if we can make that 1% difference in their world, they're making the world better for themselves, and they're making the world better for the people that are following them.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. The Paid Forward movie, I don't know if you watched that one.
Yes.
It's just like teaching the kids how just do one good single act to one person, and if each one just focuses on helping one more person, and, it's like a domino effect.
Yes.
Yeah. That's our hope for humanity.
Yep.
That's our mission for humanity, let's say.
Yep.
And I mean, if we didn't believe that what we stand for is valid and has the highest probability of succeeding, we wouldn't be here today.
No.
Actually.
No.
So we are on the optimistic track, I guess. So we share that.
You're amazing.
You too, man.